internet of value at Ripple, we're thinking much bigger than just cross-border payments. It's kind of like Amazon with rare books in the early days, just this market happens to be a $10 trillion market.
We are at a historic turning point.
Said in the past that you are doing for money what email did for communication.
Moving the whole revolution forward.
Take on it.
There's trillions of dollars parked around the world.
XRP.
Is there a possibility that Ripple could take over Swift one day?
Well,
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of 24 Hour Script. Let's get right into today's video. This is insanity. You're going to hear something that should quite literally shake you to your core, because Ripple just said the quiet part out loud. But this is what we have been screaming for a very long time. And now when you connect this with JP Morgan's Tyrone Lobban, I honestly don't know how anyone can stay bearish or not see what XRP is about to do after this. You would have to be clinically ill to not see what is happening right now in front of your eyes. Sit back, relax, because this is going to, let's take it away. Take a listen to this.
So that's the foundation of everything that we do. The XRP ledger itself then, of course, has pretty deep liquidity between the XRP token, between RLUSD, and between some of the other assets that have built on the XRP ledger itself. It's bringing that liquidity. We continue to invest in the XRP ledger in its utility. And as we're investing more and more in utility for financial services use case and for financial institutions, that's bringing more of the industry onto the XRP ledger. That brings more liquidity, and liquidity, of course, is a flywheel. So liquidity begets liquidity. People will come to the XRP ledger because of the liquidity. They bring their liquidity with them, and that just continues to build on itself.
Did you hear what he said? The XRP ledger has deep liquidity between XRP and RLUSD and the other assets built on the ledger. And if you guys recall, why did USDC come onto the XRP ledger just this year in June 12, 2025? Why? We have the CEO of USDC Circle talking about utilizing RippleNet technology 4 years ago, talking about them needing them to start scaling their system. And you're going to listen to what Tyrone Lobban said in a moment, because what Ripple just said is very, very important.
Is going to be at scale. So when I talk about the $10 trillion that we're processing every night, and I was looking this morning, I think the market, the 24-hour volume for both USDC and USDT is like $25 billion or something. That's like 400 times less than what we do every day. And if you think about having to fully reserve $10 trillion to be able to make those payments every day, that's a lot of liquidity that you're taking out of the system. And that's, really actually has a negative impact. And you can't really start to create credit creation. Like you can't actually enact credit creation and issue auto loans and mortgages if you have this huge balance of liquidity that's locked up.
Is absolutely insane. Are you seeing how this is all unfolding? And even when you listen to what Circle said this year, Ripple and Circle believe in the future where financial ecosystems are interoperable, bringing USDC, a trusted regulated stablecoin, directly to the XRP ledger can help boost the ledger's utility, expand on-chain liquidity, and unlock new avenues for innovation.
We've been thinking about this quite hard, and just picking up Jeremy's point about the race to liquidity, which is what is happening. So Circle is building its own application-specific network. JP Morgan is building its own application-specific network. And there are other coalitions that are forming that are building their own networks in a race to scale.
And you're going to listen to David Schwartz as well talk about liquidity one more time, because understand that we are all going through an educational phase. And even when you went to school, you had to read and reread every single thing that you have learned in that semester. So when I replay some videos or some topics that I talk about, this is important so we get more educated on these ecosystems and on this technology. Stablecoins are key entry points connecting traditional financial markets with the crypto space, essential for use cases focused on utility rather than speculation.
Just want to share that I am on the board of Ripple. Ripple is XRP. And so when people ask me the question, why did you join the board of Ripple? I joined the board of Ripple because XRP serves a purpose. It's a function that facilitates cross-border payments. It's not some store of value, kind of arbitrary value that is not pegged to anything. This is actually what legitimate financial institutions use, specifically for cross-border payments. So
this is coming from Ripple. Regulated stablecoins like USDC coming to the XRP ledger will enable new institutional and retail use cases by leveraging the ledger's built-in capabilities for compliance, tokenization. You guys all are very familiar with tokenization, low-cost settlement, and you've heard Atkins and even Larry Fink address the settlement need and the risk there, and seamless on and off ramps. So realistically, USDC and RLUSD and maybe two other coins that are going to flourish in the coming years or months are going to cause XRP to completely explode just based off of use case.
I think it's actually probably the primary risk to stablecoins is having too many stablecoins. Because at some point, you might get into a singleness of money issue, which becomes overwhelming. So if I have to go to Starbucks outside and then figure out which dollar I'm going to pay with, that's a problem.
Yes.
And at that point, I will go, you know what, I might as well use the US dollar cash versus going to anything. So I think we need to preserve singleness of money. Right now, we have a few big players, but I think one of the side effects of Genius and others is there has been a bit of a Cambrian explosion of everyone and their uncle who wants to launch a stablecoin.
Yeah.
Who knows how many will survive, but I think that becomes a threat.
Like we're talking over $30, $50, $100 XRP because it logically has to happen. What we just went over is the blueprint. This is not speculation anymore. This is not hopium. You can't even say the information we cover is hopium and speculation anymore because it's not. The whole blueprint has been revealed and announced to every single one of you. The smart ones will understand it. And even when you listen to head of digital assets at Franklin Templeton, this is going to happen fast. They're calling now 2 weeks out for legislation. We could see legislation 2 weeks from now.
We are going to see a massive relocation of the industry infrastructure, right? And it's going to happen so much faster than people anticipate. We like to say at Franklin Templeton, we're going to see more progress in the next 5 years than we've seen in the last 50. Is that like once it starts happening, it doesn't stop happening and it keeps spreading. And we've kind of passed that point of no return. So I think we are at the beginning of the migration. And I think that because these technologies are open source and easy to get to, it's going to happen a lot faster than anyone in the industry anticipates.
And then don't forget with USDC to RLUSD, you guys all know what's going on in Japan. And don't forget that Ripple announced on August 22nd that Ripple and SBI plan to distribute RLUSD in Japan. When? Well, they plan to do this on the first quarter of 2026. SBI VC Trade aims to make RLUSD available in Japan during the first quarter of 2026. When you have individuals on a board of director for Ripple or on the board, like, Sheila Bair and Sandy O'Connor, I cannot stress this enough, given their background of the FDIC, they're expecting a big shock to this crypto ecosystem. I want you guys to understand what's about to happen in front of your eyes. You heard Tyrone Lobin. You heard Franklin Templeton. And in a moment, you're going to hear David Schwartz as well talk about the importance of liquidity. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below so far. But, we are just at ground zero. We are truly at ground zero. When Ripple says the flywheel has begun, and JP Morgan says stablecoins must scale into the trillions, and Circle says they need Ripple's liquidity in the article, and RLUSD is literally engineered to be the settlement parent for all of it, you tell me how XRP does not melt faces. You tell me how XRP does not break out against every asset in the global liquidity cycle. It is going to be something like we have never seen before. Something like this has never existed. We're going to see some crazy numbers. At the end of the day, I've always told you guys that, this isn't a prediction. $100 XRP isn't a prediction. It is math. It is infrastructure math. This is the future of finance happening in real time with tokenomics that you could actually try to understand and wrap your head around this. So listen carefully. If you miss XRP after hearing Ripple, JP Morgan, Circle literally spell the entire architecture out for you, I genuinely pray for your mental health. Because when this system activates, regret is going to hit people harder than any market crash ever could. Prepare yourselves, understand what you're holding, and do not underestimate what happens when global liquidity finally is here. Because this is the calm before the greatest slingshot you'll ever witness in your lifetime. And like I said, the individuals that miss it, I don't know how they're going to mentally react to it, because everybody had a chance to accumulate, everybody had a chance to study and understand, but it is what it is. So I'm going to let David take it from here, and then we'll continue on, but it is truly remarkable. It is truly, truly remarkable.
The cost of XRP doesn't directly impact the cost of a payment. So in other words, if I want to buy something from you and the value of that thing is, let's say it's the equivalent to $1 million US, like the amount of XRP, the price of XRP is going to determine if I'm going to pay you an XRP. The price of XRP will determine how much XRP I have to give you, but it won't make the payment any cheaper or more expensive, right? If the price of XRP is very high, I'll give you fewer XRP, but it'll cost me more to get them. And if the price is low, I'll have to give you a lot of XRP, but I paid less for each one. So there's no such thing as like cheap XRP making payments cheap or expensive XRP making payments expensive. And that's the point that I was trying to make there, that the price of XRP doesn't determine whether payments are cheap or expensive. But what does happen is, in general, the higher the sort of market cap of the asset, it's not so much the price per unit, but the market cap does impact the ability to use the asset for payment. So for example, let's say I wanted to buy a house that was worth $1 million USD and I wanted to use Bitcoin to do it, right? Back when Bitcoin was like $100, you couldn't realistically use Bitcoin to pay $1 million because the market didn't have enough liquidity. Like if I wanted to buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin back then, I would have pushed the price up. And then when I gave the $1 million worth of Bitcoin to you, let's say to buy your house, when you go to sell those, you would push the price down. So you would take a loss on the buy and I would take a loss on the sell, and that would make the payment suck for both of us. But today, I can buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin without moving the market, and you can sell $1 million worth of Bitcoin without moving the market. So the higher, it's not so much the price, it's more the market cap, but really it's not quite like a higher price tends to mean a higher market cap, and a higher market cap tends to mean higher liquidity. It's really more like the sort of availability of liquidity that determines how easily you can use an asset for payments when you don't have closed loops. Obviously, if you have closed loops of the assets, we'd all love to see everyone in the Bitcoin space and the XRP space and the Ether space. If you see it for payments, you want to see closed loops. Like I want to get paid in XRP. I want to pay my landlord in XRP. I want to pay my electric bill in XRP. Then I'm happy to receive. Then we don't, then it doesn't matter what liquidity there is because you're strictly in the asset. But in the short term, before you can get to those closed loops, you're going to have open loops. Like maybe I can get Ripple to pay me in XRP, but then I can hold, and maybe I really like holding XRP. Let's say I love holding XRP. So yeah, I'd like Ripple to pay me in XRP, so I'm holding XRP as soon as Ripple pays me. But then when I have to pay, for groceries, my grocery store is not going to take XRP yet. So I have an open loop, and I need some liquidity in order to be able to buy my groceries. Now, if my groceries, if there's not a lot of liquidity and it's very difficult for me to convert my XRP into dollars, then that open loop system doesn't work. And so so the price of XRP doesn't matter to this, right? Ripple might pay me more or less XRP. I might need more or less to pay my bills, but it doesn't matter. The system works just as well. A cheap XRP isn't meaningful there. But what is meaningful is how expensive or how much it cost me to sort of convert. And especially for big payments, like if you want to make $1 million payment, it has to be that $1 million buy or sell of XRP doesn't move the market a lot, because if you move the market, it's always going to be against you, right? Moving the market always means it's going to cost you more to buy, or you're going to get less when you sell. So if you're moving the market, it's going to effectively a tax. So what I was saying in that quote is that the XRP being low in price doesn't make it better for payments. In fact, it probably leads to a smaller market cap and less liquidity, which makes it worse for payments.
So he made it crystal clear. It's not about price. It's about liquidity. A higher price tends to mean higher market cap, and a higher market cap means more liquidity. That's what makes XRP useful at scale. But for example, at a $5 XRP, there isn't enough liquidity to handle even a fraction of the global flows. And at a $100 XRP, you're finally in the zone where trillions in settlement volume can realistically clear. That's the important part here. And the thing is, I know I'm right. And I really hope you don't take it the wrong way, thinking like I'm coming out here and trying to be cocky and saying my shit don't stink. But realistically speaking, I know others see this as well. So the individuals that don't see it, it's just not me. It's the other people that see it as well. Okay, please try to wrap your head around this. We're here to try to educate you. Okay, no one's forcing you to buy XRP. There's so much information out there that we're providing for you to do your own due diligence and wrap your head around this asset. This asset is going to completely blow people's mind. And David told you the blueprint. Okay, he hinted when he said this. A higher price tends to mean a higher market cap. And a higher market cap tends to be a higher liquidity. It's really more like the availability of liquidity that determines how easily you can use an asset for payments. Read between the lines. XRP must be expensive to function at scale. It's not an option, it's a requirement. And when you compare that to Bitcoin, for example, because it is the biggest player in the game right now, understand what it's being used as, right? Because Saylor can pump Bitcoin all he wants, but Bitcoin doesn't scale with liquidity. Its only strategy is hope someone richer comes in later. That's not liquidity. That's a Ponzi scheme. XRP is the complete opposite. Okay? Its survival depends on liquidity, which means the price has to rise to support trillions in settlement. And you heard Sandy say it. I mean, what more do people want to get convinced?
We are going to see a massive relocation of the industry infrastructure, right? And it's going to happen so much faster than people anticipate.
Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, but we really got to break down more in depth and show you guys some figures in regards to what David is saying about moving the market, okay? Like, for example, if you are, take this as an example. If you're at $1 trillion market cap, $1 trillion market cap for XRP, and let's say somebody wants to come in and do a $100 billion transaction. Folks, that is moving the market. That is almost 10% of the supply of the whole market cap. That does not provide deep liquidity, okay? And now let's look at it from this perspective. When you do $2 trillion market capitalization and somebody comes in here and wants to do $200 billion, that's still a lot of liquidity that you're taking out from the system. And this is what Tyrone Lobban meant.
Having to fully reserve $10 trillion to be able to make those payments every day, that's a lot of liquidity that you're taking out of the system.
Man, come here, give me a hug right now, because I know that part enlightened some of you guys. That part right there clicked in and you just went, holy crap. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate every single one of you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below.
They told us dream small, but we had the stars in mind. While they chased hype, we studied time. In the noise we found the signal. Brad knew just what to do. Now XRP hums like jazz, running smooth and true. Money's changing, systems bend. Ripple flow into the end. Truth is quiet, bold and deep. We salute the ones who lose no sleep. Salute to the minds that built this chain. Salute, salute through the trials, through the pain. Salute, salute to the calm, to the wise. Bitcoin maxis yell on stage, stuck in loops they call belief, while XRPL just clears the way. No delay, no grief. They hoard coins like dusty gold, but we got utility in every fold. The future ain't loud, it's steady breathing. Real ones know what's worth believing. It ain't hype, it's code and soul. We salute the ones who see the whole. Salute to the builders, to the flow. Salute, salute, where the real ones choose to go. Salute, salute, to the heart, to the plan. Salute, XRP will lead the land. Value don't lie, and truth don't shake. Let the whole world break, we remake. Strategic reserve, written in stars. XRP gonna take us far. So here's to the signal, clear and bright. To the dreamers who held on tight. No matter the storm, no matter the fight. Salute, we rise with the light.
We started building RippleNet with the thesis that crypto liquidity would eventually be able to support robust global payments, large payments. RippleNet was designed so that customers seeing the benefits of our fiat-based network could flip the switch to ODL once the market was mature enough. And this is exactly what's happening. Flip the switch.
I think what we're building has, it's solving a real problem. And I think all of the tokens, my advice to anybody would be, understand the utility. If there's real utility and there's real value being delivered to a real customer, there will be value in the token.